Much has been made of the Raptors' 10-13 start to the season, with Raptors fans looking for a reason why the team is not finding the success that we expected, but much of the negativity has been directed towards Pascal Siakam, mainly saying that he cannot operate on the floor successfully at the same time as Scottie Barnes. So in today's video, we try to understand the validity of this statement. Is it true? Is it untrue? We break it all down. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans, this is Amateur Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 times a week. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the NBA and the Raptors and videos and content just like this, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you can help us on a road to 8,000 subscribers. Let's close out the year with a bang. But let's get down to the topic of today's video. We're trying to assess the validity of the comments concerning Pascal Siakam not being able to play with Scottie Barnes. The Raptors, after starting 6-3 on the season, have really spun out of control, now at 10-13. And a lot of where the Raptors started to spin out of control coincided with the return of Pascal Siakam to the team. In fact, in Pascal Siakam's first 5 games back with the Raptors from his 5-month injury, the Raptors were 0-5 in those 5 games, which led a lot of people to criticize Siakam and saying that this was the problem. Like a great majority of you guys said that the main problem with the Raptors in this bad stretch has been Pascal Siakam. This has occurred despite Pascal Siakam showing some promising numbers. The field goal percentages have been good. The points per game since the minute restriction was lifted has been quite good, nearing 20 points per game. And he himself has stated that he's not quite 100% back from that injury. He's not quite at that key top 100% level. I mean, he was out for 5 months. He had shoulder surgery, the first surgery of his life. So I can understand why there's a little bit of time that we need to give him. I think that for Pascal Siakam, he's been quite good. He's been quite good. A lot of you would say that he's been average, which I can completely understand. But one thing that he does need to add to his game is that 3-ball. He does need to get that back down. If he's getting that 3-ball down and he starts to actually get the free throws he deserves, I think we're looking at a 21 to 22 point per game Siakam. But despite this, maybe fans are looking at Scottie Barnes and seeing that, okay, Scottie Barnes hasn't quite been up to the speed that he showed earlier on in the season. Now, is this a direct correlation with Pascal Siakam's return to the team? Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam play in very similar positions. Scottie Barnes is kind of a hybrid 3-4, small forward, power forward. Pascal Siakam is pretty much a mainstay power forward in this team. But a lot of the touches that Scottie Barnes was getting earlier on in the season, especially a lot of those ball handling and kind of ISO rolls, Pascal Siakam is now getting, which has dropped Scottie Barnes's field goal attempt per game to 3 less than it was earlier on in the season. And this is a season now where the Raptors are really focusing on the personal development of players because, we're not going to go challenge for anything. The East is absolutely stacked this season. I think the Raptors would be fortunate to make the playoffs. Play-in looks like it's possible, but we'll see if that's what Masai Ujiri actually really wants to do with this team. So as a result, personal player development is the key to success for the Raptors this season. And there is no more importance in a single player developing than Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes is the most important asset for the Toronto Raptors going forward because we want to build the franchise around him. And based on the way he's playing so far, he's the Rookie of the Year favorite. If they gave out the award today, he would win it. We do need to put a focus on him developing. So with Pascal Siakam on this team, taking touches away from him, oh my goodness. That seems like there is a big problem there. And especially when you look at the fact that the Raptors are losing now that Pascal Siakam has returned. Well, is it not clear that Pascal Siakam is the problem with his team? Well, it's not clear at all, really, because there are a number of other factors that have gone into this tough stretch for the Raptors that go well beyond just Pascal Siakam returning. Because the fact of the matter is Pascal Siakam has returned. He's been shooting efficiently. Sure, are there some mistakes? Is he not quite up to that level that we had? It's possible, but I think that overall Pascal Siakam has been quite good, especially when you consider the fact that he's out, again, 5 months with that injury. But what a lot of people hold to this higher regard is the contract that he's on. People need to stop fixating on the contract and not his numbers compared to the contract. If you want a good base for a comparison of Pascal Siakam's contract to his numbers, I think that the best way to compare is looking at other players who make that sort of money, who make that max contract, that mid to low 30s range. If you look at a lot of players in that range, Pascal Siakam is pretty much in the average there. There are a lot of players making that sum of money who aren't as good as Pascal Siakam. Are there players better than him making that money? Sure, absolutely. But Pascal Siakam is no way isolated in that contract. He has been quite good. He's been average to slightly above average for players making that amount of money, especially considering the fact that along with that offensive game, he does bring a lot of stuff to the defensive game that is key for the Raptors. So with that in mind, Pascal Siakam has been fine this season. He's been fine. But is that affecting Scottie Barnes' development with the team? Is that affecting the Raptors' record with this team? As far as Scottie Barnes' development goes, I mean, look, if you want the Raptors to be successful in the future, you need to have more than one good player. Scottie Barnes can't be your only good player. No team in the history of the league has operated with one good player and been successful. Therefore, you need to have multiple good players. If you want to win games, you need to have more than one good player. So in the short term, it makes sense to have Pascal Siakam on this team, especially with his value not being the absolute highest right now. The long term could be a different story, which we are going to touch on in a little bit. But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of what the Raptors are doing right now unsuccessfully has been put on Pascal Siakam as the scapegoat. But in reality, the focus of your questions and of your displeasure with this team should be focused on the bench. The Toronto Raptors bench is averaging 23.9 points per game this season. That is good for, by far, the worst in the NBA. In fact, the second lowest bench points per game in the NBA is above 27 points. The Raptors are in a category of their own as it comes to bench scoring, which offers the starters nothing. Well, the starters, even being offered nothing from the bench, have still been quite good. The Raptors are 22nd in the league in total points per game. They're averaging 104.9 points per game at the time of recording on this video. So what does that tell you about this team? It means that the starters are averaging 81 points per game, which is one of the highest amounts in the league. Scottie Barnes, when he's healthy, starts every game. Pascal Siakam, when he's healthy, starts every game. So when they are playing together as starters, the Raptors have been extremely successful in getting points from their starters. Whether or not that includes Siakam on the team or it doesn't, Siakam, when he's there, he is being a part of this team process of accumulating a ton of points from starters and is just not coming from the bench. If you want to make the argument that the Raptors stars are playing the most in the league, that's fine, but you also have to consider the fact that we can't play the bench more minutes because when they play, they offer us nothing. We are afforded almost no choice but to play these starters for crazy amounts of minutes. Fred VanVleet is averaging the most minutes in the league because when we take him off the floor, the team falls apart. And same kind of goes for Scottie Barnes and Siakam. You have to keep them on the floor because the bench truly gives you nothing. But the most important part of this argument I'm making here is that the starters have been fine. The starters are scoring. The starters have been absolutely fine in putting the ball in the basket, which means when Siakam and Scottie Barnes are on the floor, they have been fine playing together. Is Scottie Barnes' role a little bit diminished because there is now a better player on the team who is taking more shots than him? Yes, absolutely. Scottie Barnes is a rookie. You're not just going to throw everything away and put everything on the rookie, because if you did, wow, you think the games are tough right now? Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how the games would change? Oh my goodness, if we had to put all the faith in that one player. And even so, Scottie Barnes is now developing so many other tools to his game that make him lethal on the court. The shooting has been outrageous in the last week or so. He's been shooting about 50% from three over the last week, and the jump shot is just getting better and better. He's finding new ways to affect the game, which is great, which is really good news for this team. Is he shooting as much? No, but I think that he's become a little bit smarter with his shooting opportunities. And I still think that he is progressing. There is still developmental progressions about Scottie Barnes. His defense over the last week has definitely gotten better than a few weeks ago when it was really not that good. Scottie Barnes, we know him. He's a great defender, but there was a little bit of a stretch there. It was tough. It is now getting better. They're finding chemistry together. Siakam on the court with the rest of the starters. They're starting to build up together. Are the results coming? No, but Siakam returned, and that's kind of when the injury bug hit the Raptors. Khem Birch been in and out of the team. Gary Trent had a couple games where he was missing. OG Anunoby, a very important player to this team, he's been out with a bad injury to his hip. So all of these things in mind have kind of been thrown in on Pascal Siakam by himself, even though there are so many other factors affecting this team, like the bench, like the fact there's been so many injuries, the fact we still don't have a center who can protect the rim. So I don't think any of this has to do in the short term with Siakam and Barnes being on the court together. Long term, there's a different discussion. OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, and Pascal Siakam all play in similar positions. Do you want to focus on Barnes and OG Anunoby for the future? That's fine, but in the short term, I don't think there's any reason to make any hasty decisions as it comes to Siakam. In the offseason, I think there's a conversation that needs to be had about that, building around Scottie Barnes OG for the future. But in the present, it doesn't really make any sense to go force up any trade. Doesn't really make any sense to go make any rash decisions. But short term, there's no problem. Siakam and Barnes can be fine together on the court. Long term, they could still be fine, but if you want to balance out the roster a little bit better, then that makes a lot of sense. Right now, it doesn't. The stats show that the reason for the unsuccessful Raptors so far this season at 10-13 is injuries, but predominantly bench production, which does not exist. And I would say just from watching all the games, not having a center who can protect the rim is a big problem for this team. Can Siakam be better? Yes, but he can be absolutely a lot worse. I think that he has been absolutely fine this season, and search it in your heart. You know it to be true. You just want to fill your agenda that Siakam is the problem, and there's really nothing I can do to change that. Try to understand the point I made in this video, because it truly is not just Pascal Siakam that is the problem with this team. There's other factors at play. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Please be sure to drop a like if you did enjoy the video. It goes a long way to support the channel, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. Hit that button right in the middle of the screen. Easy way to sub and stay up to date with those 4+ Raptors videos we put out every single week.